Welcome to Vintage Variety. Today I'm going to show you how to restore a vintage necklace from start to finish. There's something beautiful about old things, even things that are damaged, beat up, or broken. You're kind of left wondering about their story and about the people that owned them and perhaps loved them at one time. I often say that jewelry is an art form, but different pieces of jewelry have some type of unknown history that we can only guess at. Now this looks like something that was once worn and very much loved. I think that this is the piece I'll choose to do a restoration on today and see if we can put it back into its wearable condition and make it as beautiful as it once was. I usually like to start out by looking the piece over just to see if there's anything missing. Often, if it's a very complicated piece with different parts and different types of beads, I'll take a lot of photographs just so I'll have a reference to work off of. Because, as always, the goal is to put the piece back together in its original form. This beautiful vintage glass beaded necklace doesn't seem to be missing anything. It's just basically starting to fray and come apart. You can see here where someone has tied it back together. So that kind of tells me that someone at one time or the other really loved this necklace and wore it quite often. So the only goal here will be to put it back together in its original form. You can see it has a spring ring closure. So I'm going to preserve that to put it back on the necklace. The only thing that I'm going to be doing is replacing the cording on this so that this necklace can once again be wearable for many years to come. Whenever possible, before deconstructing a piece of jewelry, I like to clean it first. Doing it that way, there's less of a chance that I'll lose any of the parts or the beads. Another good thing about cleaning pieces like this is you really don't know where they've been or what they've been in. I'm going to create a homemade cleaning solution using some warm tap water. Then I'm going to add a few splashes of white vinegar to this. Not a whole lot, just enough to bring the water level on up higher so that the necklace is completely covered. I'm also going to add a couple of drops of dishwashing liquid. It doesn't take a lot, just a small amount to clean this necklace. I'll give this a really good mix just to make sure that everything gets combined. But I did want to give you guys a quick word of caution. This is a very good cleaning method, but it's not appropriate for all pieces of vintage jewelry. A lot of the coated glass pearls or the old vintage Japan or Hong Kong necklaces that have coatings on them, this method will completely remove all of that and ruin your piece of jewelry. Proceed with caution if you're going to use this method. It's okay for this necklace because it's all glass and there's no special coatings on it. You can see that I'm kind of agitating this, and I'll come back every so often and do that again, kind of like a mini washing machine. I'll probably let this soak for at least an hour or more, and then we'll come back and have a look at it and give the necklace a very good rinse. It's been about an hour and a half, and this necklace has had a very good soak. It doesn't look as though it was all that dirty to me, but you can see the water. I'm going to get this rinsed off really well, and I'll come back and I'm going to give you a closer look at the necklace as I lay it out to dry. I did want you guys to see the closure on this necklace. Of course, I believe this is brass, and this solution works really well on any type of brass jewelry or brass fittings. It really cleans it up, gets rid of all of the old tarnish and grime. Here is a really good look at the beads on this necklace. As I've already stated, I don't think it was really that dirty, but regardless, we now know that it's nice and clean. Any debris or old sweat's been removed from it. So I'm going to lay this out on a towel until it's completely dry, and then we will start deconstructing it and putting it back together again to make it just like new. Just looking at this necklace, it looks to have been strung on some type of cotton or more likely silk cording. And a lot of vintage necklaces were strung this way. I do have some silk cording on hand, but I'm not so sure that that's what I want to use for this necklace for a couple of different reasons. First of all, this is a very long necklace, and the beads on this necklace are very heavy. This is the type of silk cording that I have on hand, and I have used this in the past for restoring other necklaces. In the case of this particular necklace, if I were going to use this, I would either need a heavier weight or I would have to double string this necklace, which is something I really don't want to do. Whenever I'm redoing a necklace, especially a vintage one, I try to keep it as close to its original construction as possible. But this necklace is heavy and I want it to hold up and last for many years to come. So rather than using the silk cording, I'm going to opt for beading wire instead. It's very flexible, but it's way stronger than the silk cording would be. And I just feel like using this to rebead this necklace is going to ensure that this necklace will have many more years, probably even a few decades of longevity. This cording does come in a variety of different colors. This is the color that I have on hand, so this is what I'm going to use. The color's really not going to be a big deal with this necklace because you're really not going to see this. The beads are going to cover all of this up. Another item that I'm going to be using are crimp tubes, and these are a brass tone, which will match up perfectly with the clasp of this necklace. I'll be using these on each end of the necklace where the clasp attaches, and this will help to secure the beading wire, and it'll also help hide the color of the wire at the end where it attaches. Other than the wire and the crimp tubes, I'm also going to be using these bent nose pliers. These are my favorite jewelry pliers, and I'm mainly just going to use these to take the jump rings apart and remove the clasp. If you're interested in where you can get these materials, I have left links to these in the description box below this video. I do have all of these items in my Amazon storefront, and anytime you purchase through my link, my channel does receive a small commission, and it really helps my channel out. But as always, there's no obligation to buy. Now that the necklace is all clean and dry, it's time to cut it apart. I'm just going to use a simple pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut it on both sides where the clasp is. So that's one side complete, and now to do the other side. Now all I need to do is to remove all of these beads from this frail stringing material. You'll notice I'm still using this glass container. It's nice and dry, but doing it this way ensures that hopefully I won't misplace or lose any of these beads. So I have all of my beads contained, and I wanted to show you guys the stringing material. This material was so old and weak that in some spots as I was removing the beads, it just disintegrated. There were a few sections that I had to cut again with the scissors where the necklace had been tied back together. Now it's time to start putting these beads back on the necklace the way they originally would have been. Because I have a pretty good sized work area, I'm just going to pour these out on this cutting mat. so that I will be able to see all of them, because there are some very small glass seed beads that were used as spacers. The pattern of this necklace is pretty much a seed bead, a larger bead, and then another seed bead. I'll start out by doing a few and letting you guys see how it's done. And then, of course, because there's so many beads, I will speed the video up just so you guys can get a good look at what I'm doing for whenever you want to repair a necklace like this on your own. Restringing a necklace like this can be time consuming depending on how long the necklace is. This one measures a total of 44 inches in length and 22 inches drop when worn around the neck. I highly recommend listening to some music or maybe even a podcast while you're working on something like this. It just seems to make the time go by faster. I am going to speed this up because otherwise this content would be way too long. What seems like to me an eternity later, I finally have all of my beads strung up. The only thing left to do is to put the closure on this necklace, and it will once again be wearable. I'm going to slip one of the crimp tubes down over the end of the wire, and I like to use my jewelry pliers for this just to hold on to the tube because it's so small. If you do that, just don't squeeze the tube because it will close up on you. It will get squeezed later to secure the wire, but not until we get everything on the end. Now I'm going to add a jump ring. This will hook to the clasp of the necklace. This isn't the original jump ring. The original one was bent. It looked as though someone had doubled it, so I'm going to use this one in its place. It matches up rather well. Now that I have that on there, I am going to loop the wire over the jump ring, and I am going to thread this back down into that crimp tube. I do have some excess wire, so I will continue threading that back through the beads, just threading it so far down. And then I'll show you guys how I'm going to secure it. Hopefully you guys can understand what I'm doing here. Do you see the loop that it's made on the end? And what I'm doing is I'm just pushing gently with my fingers, and I'm making sure it's gotten looped through the other beads. Now I'm going to take the tail of that wire, and I am going to give it a pull. I'm going to hold on to the jump ring at the end and just pull a little. There will be some slack in the cord, but keep in mind I still haven't put the clasp on the other end of this. So if there's any slack, I can tighten that up when I go to put the clasp on. Now using my pliers, I'm just going to give that crimp bead a squeeze, and that will close it flat and secure the wire. Now all that's left to do on this necklace is the opposite side where the clasp is. You can see I have a lot of excess wire here, and that's okay because I am going to cut some of that off. And here is where we're going to take up any slack that was left in the necklace. So I'm leaving myself a pretty good length of wire just to be safe. Better safe than sorry. Now I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other end. I am going to make kind of like a loop, and I'm going to put the end of the wire down through that clamp tube, just like so. And I'm going to continue threading this. I'll thread the excess wire down through some of the beads. It kind of doubles it up, and it gives me a little extra length. I feel like it makes it a lot more secure doing it that way. You can see where it's coming through some of the beads there. And I'll probably pull this through just a little more. and put it through a couple of more beads. I'm going to use one pair of pliers to hold onto the clasp of the necklace, and the other pair I am going to grab a hold of the tail of this wire, and I am going to give it a gentle tug. As I do this, you'll notice that the entire necklace is going to tighten up. That's going to get rid of any loose spots or slack in the necklace. And it's also going to tighten up near the top. So now all I have to do is give that clamp tube a gentle squeeze to press it in flat. And that is going to hold and secure that wire. Next, I am going to take my wire cutters and I'm going to get in as close as possible and just clip off that excess wire right under the bead. I think this is the last bead that it was beaded back through, just to get rid of that so that it doesn't scratch anyone. And now you can see that this necklace is completed. I showed you guys step by step how I go about refinishing a piece. And now let's have a look at this beautiful necklace on the form. This is a long necklace. So what I've done is I've doubled it up on the form, and I think if I were to wear it, I would most likely wear it like this. But you guys let me know what you think. Hopefully this was educational and it gave you guys an idea of how to go about repairing those broken necklaces that you may run across in jewelry bags, jewelry jars, or sometimes even at the thrift store. If you guys enjoyed this content, let me know. Please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment with any questions that you might have. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my content and sharing the restoration of this beautiful necklace with me. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to my channel and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified anytime I upload new content. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.